Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. My friend Diane presented me with a lovely parcel of vintage goodness, and in this video I'm going to dig in and create an angel. I love the way she turned out. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to do is have a look and see what's in the package. But I know it's going to be very crinkly, so I will remove all this tissue paper first. Okay, first of all, I love the box. Look at that, aging. Made in Madeira. Maybe that this was handkerchiefs. These are perfect little girls' gloves. I've already looked at these, so I'm gonna save these. I have 5 granddaughters, so you know I'm gonna save those. They're gonna love those. Look at this. This is silk. Should be an opening. Okay, there's the opening. Just a little silk pocket. Who knows what you could keep in there. Now we have some doilies. Yeah, I love these. And then these with all the circles. I can see these as wings like this. Let's see. Let me move this. There we go. Let's see. This way. So this could be wings for an angel like this, see? We'll see, maybe that's what that could be. And then, oh, I have a lot of those. Quite a few. Big stack of them. I'll bet there's 10 or 12 of those. Now this, I really like these because they're floppy. See, they're not stiff. So they drape just like a dress. That's a perfect angel's dress. But it's a small angel, so I would have to use, you know, a small head and small wings, and, you know, I really love that. More. This one is the same, but it seems bigger, right? Yeah, same idea, but bigger. Maybe we could start with this one. Okay, I have quite a few like this. They have almost like, okay, so... Okay, they have this dimensional flower in the center, which I can picture her neck right there. And then the dress draping down. And then these little motifs here almost look like tulips. Tulips and flowers. So these will be pretty angel dresses. And like I say, they're nice and floppy. And then, ooh, here's some tatting. This looks like a tatted collar. I'm not sure what to do with that, but I would say I'm just going to keep that as is for a while. This is another doily that I'm very familiar with. And it has these heart motifs, which are lovely. And again, it's kind of soft, but I also think this might be like a bodice for an angel right here, like this. Front and back, or again, you could do wings like this. So I can tell I'm going to have a lot of fun with this little package, and I want to thank my friend Diane for her very generous gift. Okay, so I am going to create an angel ornament from this doily. If you're looking to do something similar, then just make sure it's sort of floppy like this, and it's not real stiff and just standing out on its own. This is perfect. I have my tulle. I have my ribbon. This is 1/16 inch ivory ribbon. I have a pipe cleaner for the arms. I know some of you like arms. This is called Big Ben, 50 pipe cleaners, Royal Dutch. And I think I got these from Amazon. And then I have a 16mm face. I've already made the face, and of course you can find the face. Here you go, let's see. Stay still, in my Focus on Faces video. Let's get started. First thing I want to do is draw out 2 lengths of tulle. Each one, it doesn't need to be very long. I'm going to say 12 inches. This is about 15. That might be too long. I'm going to do 2 lengths of this. This tulle is kind of stiff. I got this from Temu. I'm just kind of experimenting with ordering, you know, things that looked very practical from Temu, and this is left over from that little adventure. Okay, then this is 1/16 inch ivory ribbon, and I'm going to tie this off in the center. Now remember, I'm going to do arms. The pipe cleaner will become arms. So it's tricky. You have to remember that the arms go here like this. Okay. And then the dress goes next. And I'm going to thread the ribbon through that very center opening right there. And then the head goes on last. But for now, I'm going to stitch with a needle and thread right here to create her bodice. Here we go. I have a doubled strand of quilting thread. I have a knot in the end down here, and I have my thimble. So I'm going to try to keep this and this out of the way. So the arms and the hanging loop out of the way, and I'm going to wrap just below the arms, nice and tight, way up. See, barely gave her any chest at all. And then I'm going to stitch through the tulle back and forth a couple of times, because otherwise I feel like that whole loop of thread could just slide right down. We don't want that. And then I'm going to tie this off to secure. Let me move that so you can. All right, there we go. Now I'll cut that off. There's not a lot of sewing in this project. A little bit of hand sewing, a little bit of machine sewing, but mostly wrapping, tying, cutting, gluing. All right, so there's our little angel body with her arms. Now the next step is to add the doily dress. All right, so I want to make sure these little flowers are, you know, up. So the little petals are pointing up. And this will be the center. Let me trim this even. So this will go up through the center right here. Great. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky, but not really. Okay. So now I want the arms to come through, and I want them to come through at a certain, you know, point. Now your doily will be different, but maybe I'm going to put it right here. So right here where the flower meets the tulip. And let's see if that's the right distance. Does that look right for a shoulder? What do you think? That looks right. Flower, tulip, flower, tulip, flower. And I'm going to have this arm come through right here between this flower and this tulip, so that they're kind of coming out at the same height and equidistant from the center. Let's see. How does that look? I'm not sure there's an exact precise formula for this, but you just kind of have to look and gauge with your own doily and where the spaces are. Generally, I want more in the back and less in the front. So more fullness in the back. All right, so let's have a look. The arms will be locked like this. The hands, the wrists right here. I'll show you this later, but I just want to look and see. Does that look like the right length for the arms? I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to insert the 2 lengths of the hanging loop ribbon through the head bead from the bottom to the top, like that. Now, usually I would add a little lace collar, but this has so much detail here, I don't even think that's necessary, and it makes it faster and easier. So I'll trim this, and then I'm going to tie this off at the top. The ribbon isn't really filling the hole, which I would prefer, but I'll just add a generous amount of glue right here in the back, right here, and I'll just press and hold that. Actually, maybe I could do it right now. Okay. There's sort of a generous blob of glue right there. Blob. A generous amount of glue. And I've got her centered to the front with her arms folded, and I think that looks good. So I'll tie this off. I always tie at the top of the head, even though it really doesn't do any good. I don't know, it makes me feel like it might be a little more secure, but it's really not. It's not necessary. Then I'll trim these even. I always do a generous hanging loop. You can always make it shorter, but it's kind of annoying when you're trimming your tree and your hanging loops are too short. It's better to have options. There we go. Now I'm going to trim off the extra tulle, and you can leave a little petticoat so that kind of shows at the bottom if you like. That looks good, and we are really off to a great start. What do you think? Next, we'll do the hair. I'm using two types of yarn. One is a loopy mohair, one is kind of a fuzzy mohair, and they're both rather fine. So I'm going to wrap 6 times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And so I have this X in the middle here. Then I'll tie that off around the center. If you have a thicker yarn, of course, you need fewer loops. Sometimes I only need 3 on each side. But this yarn is pretty fine, so I'm going to use 6 loops on each side and tie it off in the center. Boop, boop, boop. All right, that feels nice and secure. I don't cut it off too short. There's always a little bit there because I don't want it to come apart. Okay, so this is my first bundle. And now I'll make a second bundle just like that. I have both bundles. I'll put the first one in the back. I will squeeze out, a circle, a penny of glue on the back of her head. I've got my hot glue gun at the ready and also my sewing machine to my right. I like to use a generous amount of glue. Press that center knot into the top of the head right behind the hanging loop, and then press the bundle into the back of the head. It doesn't have to be perfect, because that's going to be covered by the wings. Okay, but see how this is loose? I don't want that to be loose. So I'll add a little bit more glue here and here and press the rest of that yarn into the sides of the head. That looks good. Now I will put some glue right here at the top of the head in front of the hanging loop, right here. Am I gluing actually right on the hole? Yes, I am. Okay, now I'm going to hold that for a second to make sure that's nice and secure. It doesn't really matter what this looks like at this point. Okay, now I'm going to do a line of glue from here to here. From here to here, like this. And then I'll twist this toward the back and press it into that line of glue and hold that to secure. It's nice to have sort of a fluffy yarn because it's just a little bit more forgiving. And then again on this side, I'll put some glue from here to here, here to here, and then twist this toward the back and press that into the side. This part really is not for perfectionists. I don't want to drive you crazy, but the sides are never going to be exactly the same. You can sort of, wiggle it around and press it here and lift it out there and try different things, but basically it's going to be cute no matter what. That looks good. Great. Okay, what do you think? So far so good, right? Now let's do her halo. I'm using gold 20 gauge wire on a spool. You only need about 1.5 inches. That's probably too much. Maybe 1.25 inches. Let me measure. Okay, this is somewhere between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches. And I like to use my thimble for shaping it into a circle. Not exactly a circle, but more of like a U or a headband shape like this. Then I'll add some glue to each end and press those ends into her hair like this. That looks good, right? All right, we're done with that. Okay, now we can do the wings. let's do the wings. Okay, for the wings, I have some sort of a cream colored wool felt. This is from Weir Craft, W-E-I-R. They are on Etsy and on Amazon. And then this is Spellbinders. Big scallop circles, Spellbinders, and then you get all different sizes. This one is a little bit more than 3 inches. The actual cutting edge is in the center of the die. See, it's right in the middle here. So it's kind of hard to measure, but it's a little more than 3 inches. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine and I'll be right back. Here's the shape, and I'll fold it in half. And one thing I want to be sure that I don't fold it like this so that you have these little half circles on the edge. It's just a little bit easier, cleaner, and neater if you match it up. So you have a dip right here in the center and not a scallop, and then you have 6 complete scallops instead of a half and then a hole, and then a half. Okay, so like this, then I'm going to pin it. I'm using pink thread. This angel is going to have a tiny bit of color, and the color is going to be pink. So I will do a decorative stitch along the edge here to hold this together, and I'm just going to do a triple straight stitch with pink thread. So it'll be, you know, less than 1/4 inch from the edge, and just a triple stitch that goes boop, 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 all the way around. Here's what the wings look like. I fold it in half just to determine the center, and I'll squeeze out some glue right here at the top center of this straight edge here. I like to use a generous amount of glue. It won't show. And I'm going to press that into the back of her head. Not the back of her shoulders, the back of her head. Okay, so the top edge of the wing is pretty even with a little bit down from the top of her head. About like that, see? I do try to center that. Like, I'm usually not a perfectionist, but it does look off if the wings are, you know, not centered. I think I'm going to add a little bit more glue here so I can press this into her back, this part. Just want to make sure that's very secure. Great. Now we'll give her something to hold. All right, so I did this before, but I didn't really demonstrate it very well. So I'm going to cross the hands over and fold them back so they interlock like this. And then I'm just going to wrap this end around her wrist. She's not really holding anything in her wrist. I'm just going to glue them to the top. And I want to show you all kinds of options. Here's a little die cut heart. I've got these pink flowers. I got these flowers. This little netting was from a hat. This is millinery netting. I'm definitely going to use that. Here's some washi tape. It kind of has the theme that I like. This is from the same hat. This is kind of big. I'll use that for something else though. And then I really want to have just some plain lace. Your angel can hold anything. I'm going to go with just a pink flower, just one. This is from the Paper Studio. I think Paper Studio is from Hobby Lobby. Okay, this is from Paper Studio, Hobby Lobby. And then a little scrap of this, I tore this, and I kind of like the ragged edges like that. So maybe I'll tie a knot in the center. Let's see how that works. This is millinery netting that I removed from an old hat. I've really gotten a lot of use out of that hat. Okay, so I want them to have some, you know, movement. Okay, so I'm going to glue this knot to the center of her hands right here. I decided I wanted the lighter edge to go up and the heavier edge to go down like that. And then I just pulled out this lace. So let's just tie a little knot from this too and add this. Let's see, maybe above. Okay, it's too long. I guess I'll trim it later. I say I will trim it later, don't worry. Then the flower goes on top, and you can do whatever you like. And then, let me see. I like to have something, some kind of green coming out underneath like a leaf. I had a couple of options, but I think I like this, just a little bit of this, right? I can't avoid the blue flower there, but I think it'll look good. So I will glue this underneath here so that the green shows. It might look like leaves. Let's see. Well, in my imagination, it works, so I'm gonna try it. That looks pretty good, right? Can you see the green? And here's the lace and the netting, the pink netting. Sometimes it's hard to see because of the, it's like flat, right? And I wanna stand up and look at it, but I think it's good. I think we're done. Okay, here's how she looks. Here's her back. Here's her wings. The stitching looks good. Everything looks good. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.